Hey, guess what? The government has turned its back on its workers, so the workers are getting to the streets. There was a big day of protest, a fourth annual Fight for 15. That's nice, right? Look at that. So across the nation, thousands fight for, that's from The Guardian, thousands of Fight for 15 protesters rise up in 340 cities across the U.S. Workers took part in protests in New York, Chicago, Kansas City, Los Angeles, and other places Tuesday to call for fairer minimum wage nationwide. It's from The Guardian. Here's some pictures of people sitting in a terminal for Fight for 15 wait. That's in the Newark International Airport in New Jersey Tuesday. Look at that. Here's a video. I think it's from O'Hare Airport. Here's some.
The workers united will never be defeated. The workers united will never be defeated.
Wow, so there's a lot of them out there. Yeah, so this is the thousands of Fight for 15 protesters. This is from The Guardian. It says thousands of Fight for 15 supporters chanted, marched, sat in, and got arrested in 340 cities across the U.S. on Tuesday, declaring that they won't back down no matter who is in the White House. The Tuesday's large protest, the fast food movement's 12th one-day strike, was a far cry from 4 Novembers ago when the Fight for 15 held its first one-day strike. That day, just 200 workers walked out in one city, New York, calling for fairer wages. I remember that. On Tuesday, 500 workers at Chicago O'Hare Airport alone went on strike. You saw them. Led by the Service Employees International Union, the SEIU. With the new administration taking office, we're going to double our pressure. We're going to take bigger and bolder action, Wise said. We plan to ramp up our efforts to continue to build our movement. The Fight for 15 has grown into one of the nation's largest progressive movements, alongside movements by undocumented immigrants, Black Lives Matter, and environmental activists fighting global warming. Beginning with fast food workers, the Fight for 15 now includes other groups, including childcare workers, home care aides, airport workers, and adjunct professors. That's right. If you know anything about how we do college is unbelievably expensive, and they don't pay their professors anything. So the courage, vision, and solidarity that the Fight for 15 has shown is exactly what we need, not only to resist Trump, but to put forward a forthright vision of the country we want. It's more important in the time of Trump. I don't know if it's more important in the time of Trump. It's more important in the time of Trump, partly because the goal is to show a more equal, more inclusive economy that offers real opportunity and higher wages for everyone, including workers in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, and other states. Those would be all the states Hillary lost. Brad Lander, a city council member from Brooklyn. This is what's good when elected officials join the people instead of pretending it's not happening, which is what Barack Obama does. Brad Lander, a city council member from Brooklyn who participated in Tuesday's Manhattan sit-in, said, "I'm getting arrested because the Fight for 15 workers are the most inspiring group of people I know fighting for a fairer economy." Good for you, Brad Lander. The difference they've made over the last 4 years is quite extraordinary. 2 other city council members and 1 state assemblyman who were also arrested in New York. Oh, look at that. So 2 other city council members and 1 state assemblyman. So that's good. Where was the mayor? Where's de Blasio? I thought you were a big lefty. The Reverend William Barber, president of the North Carolina NAACP and an ally of the Fight for 15, stressed that the campaign should aim to help all Americans living below the poverty line. 17 million non-Hispanic whites live below the poverty line, 12 million Hispanics, 11 million blacks, and 2 million Asians. He said the challenge was to bring people of different race. So that's like, if you add all that up, 17 and 11 is 28, and 12 is 40, and 42 million people in America live below the poverty line. That's a lot of people. 42 million. He said that the challenge was to bring people of different races, sexes, ages, and backgrounds together to lift Americans' income. One goal in the South and the Rust Belt, Barber said, is to get many of our white brothers and sisters to think about why do we continually vote for people who are against a living wage, against health care, and against voting rights, because those people are going to vote against a living wage that would help you. Why do people vote against their own interest? Most of the time because either choice is against their own interest. That's why. Nagasha Legrand, who as a KFC worker in Brooklyn joined the movement's first ever strike in 2012, said the fight for 15 has grown far beyond her expectations. It's grown more diverse. It was at first the fast food workers, but now it's also airport workers, child workers, childcare adjunct professors, and more. She added, this is for Asians, Hispanics, blacks, white brothers and sisters. Without white working class, we cannot win this fight. As much as we need them, they need us too. Hector Figueroa, he's the president of Local 32BJ, that sounds dirty, of the SEIU, a giant Manhattan-based union representing building service workers and pushing to help airport workers, said American workers badly need innovative, non-traditional advocacy efforts like the Fight for 15. Again, it's the people in the streets, just like in the civil rights movement, just like when in the environmental movement, just like people in the streets getting it done, and their elected officials starting to join them. Scott Courtney, an executive vice president of the SEIU, is the Fight for 15's chief strategist. The statement today is that the Fight for 15 and these workers aren't backing down. I'd say 15 has become bigger than a number. It's a symbol of opposition and resistance now to Trump and his ilk. Well, also Obama and his ilk. It's a symbol of, that's great. So we need civic organizations that are symbols of opposition and resistance now. Black Lives Matter, the veterans out in North Dakota at Standing Rock, the Fight for 15. This is all good stuff. We have to be all in for workers. We have to be a voice of disruption, raising demands for working people. The more distant we are from their anger, the more disconnected we will be from working people. Then, referring to union officials, Figueroa added, it's time to take off our ties and jackets and join the workers in the streets. So there you go. Yes, it is time to get in the streets. It is time to take our country back. You know how when Barack Obama got elected, people screamed, I want my country back? Well, so do I. I want it back from the oligarchs who now control it, who Obama serves. And who Trump is, who knows? He's one of. He's the oligarchy. He's a billionaire. So
he's a problem solver, Jimmy.
So you know how people always say, oh, yeah, you want $15 work at McDonald's and they're just going to get a machine to do your job. Believe me, if they could get a machine to do that job, they would. We've already had automated restaurants in the 50s. You go in, everything was behind glass. You picked it out. I've showed that on the show. I think I have. This is not something new. People don't like to be served that way. That's why they have human beings. For Hank?
Well, I also always point out that giving low-wage workers money is a great way to give rich people money. It just filters through their lives.
It actually trickles up.
It trickles all the way up. That's called demand economy, demand-driven economics.
That's the New Deal.
Yeah, it's exactly the way people behave rationally. So all these people will spend every dime of their money, and it ends up in the profit margins of companies generally. But they also have better lives along the way. They're more able to afford education. They're more able to improve their standing. They can pay rent. They can buy, you know what I mean? Maybe save a little, have a little dignity. Like the bank bailouts, they should have just given everybody money, and then the banks would have ended up with it anyway.
Well, I had said that. It's like, why don't they just give the people the money? We'll put it in the bank, and then you get a double bang for your buck.
And the rich people still get the money at the end of it in the process. Yeah. It's that hoarding. It's the concentration of wealth that is.
I think just
so
the idea to those
yeah.
people of giving money to people drives them nuts.
Right.
Like that. What?
oil subsidies.
No,
I mean,
the government
all the
just put-
welfare companies get. That's fine.
Yeah.
When you give poor people money, it has nowhere else to go but back up to the rich people.
Yes, and FDR knew that. FDR said that if you want to keep a lot of your money, you have to give some of it away. And he told that to the rich people, and they did. So they did the work. And by giving it away, meaning they gave people jobs to go build cool stuff in our country. Also, what he claims, what FDR said, this is according to Thomas Frank, is that he claims he saved capitalism. That he wasn't a socialist, that he saved capitalism. Because that's what so capitalism needs these safeguards to brace against the impacts of capitalism, which are many. And so work and unions are one of those natural institutions that push back against the excesses or the brutalities of capitalism. So we need more.